You see the images in your feed. Perfect white slopes, glittering resort villages, main streets dusted in fresh snow that look like they were built for postcards. You picture yourself in front of a stone fireplace inside a massive mountain lodge, wrapped in blankets while the snow falls outside. It feels like the ultimate escape, the polished version of the American dream. But that dream, the one marketed to the world, is cracking apart. For the first time in more than 10 years, the high country of Colorado is in a real financial nosedive. The pandemic-era gold rush, the Zoom town frenzy where coastal buyers fought over rustic cabins, is finished, and the hangover is brutal. This is not a gentle pullback or a mild slowdown. What is unfolding is a full-scale housing crisis. Today on Discover the Nation, we are not here to show you pretty drone shots and ski lifts. We are taking you on a road trip and an investigation into the 10 mountain towns where the collapse is hitting the hardest. We will count down from 10 to 1, and with each stop, the situation gets more extreme. We are talking about price cuts that look like mistakes, multi-million-dollar chalets gathering dust on the market for more than a year, and an insurance crisis that is turning properties into places you simply cannot own. This story is not only about very wealthy second homeowners. It is about entire communities being hollowed out. You are going to be stunned when you see which picture-perfect town has watched its median home price fall by more than 30% in only 6 months. And the town in the #1 spot, the one everyone assumed could never be touched, is facing a collapse that local agents are desperate to hide.
Number 10. Pagosa Springs. We start far in the south, near the New Mexico border, rolling into Pagosa Springs. Most people know this town for its famous hot springs and relaxed old Colorado vibe, a quieter contrast to the big interstate resorts. For years, that calm energy felt like a secret. Now it feels like paralysis. Pagosa became a textbook short-term rental boomtown. Outside buyers poured in, scooping up cabins and chalets for Airbnb and Vrbo, pushing prices far beyond what locals could afford and betting tourism money would never slow. That bet has blown up. Facing a severe housing shortage for residents, local leaders hit the brakes, first pausing new short-term rental approvals, then imposing a strict cap on licenses. The moment those rules landed, the investment story cracked. AirDNA data shows future booking calendars down about 40%. Those so-called guaranteed cash flows have vanished. On the sales side, the Archuleta County Association of Realtors reports that inventory of homes listed over $1 million has surged about 95% year over year. These are exactly the properties investors chased, and they are not moving. Zillow data shows the typical listing in Pagosa Springs now sits for roughly 130 days, more than triple the time just 2 years ago. Redfin reports around 1 in 3 active listings has taken a price cut in the last month alone. But the real catastrophe is the gap between incomes and asking prices. The Colorado Department of Labor says the median household income in Archuleta County supports a home price near $350,000. Even after reductions, the median listing price still hovers above $700,000. Investors have stepped aside, and local families cannot even step in. That leaves a market with almost no real buyers and only one direction for prices to go. It is a chilling way to start this journey. Tell us in the comments whether you think the short-term rental crackdown was worth it, even if it helped trigger this crash.
Number 9. Durango. From Pagosa Springs, we head west along Highway 160 to the historic railroad town of Durango. This is not just another ski resort. Durango has a college, a real downtown, and a genuine year-round economy. That is exactly why what is happening here is so alarming. It proves this crisis is not just about vacation condos and tourist money. Durango is being crushed by unaffordability finally colliding with reality. Higher interest rates have locked the market in place. A recent report from the Durango Area Association of Realtors shows total home sales volume down more than 50% compared with the same stretch 2 years ago. We are not talking about prices. We are talking about the number of homes actually changing hands. The market is frozen. The reason is simple. Owners are trapped by their loans. Many locked in mortgage rates around 2.5% or 3% and refuse to give them up. Listing their home means trading into a much higher payment, so they stay put. That keeps resale inventory low even as real demand fades. Builders do not have that option. Data from the La Plata County Planning Office shows a growing backlog of newly built luxury townhomes and condos with almost no pre-sales. This is where the free fall begins. Builders are stacking on incentives, from $50,000 in closing cost credits to aggressive rate buydowns, quiet discounts that do not always show up in the list price but hit values just the same. At the same time, the local economy is stalling. For the first time in about 30 years, United States Census figures show population growth in Durango basically flat. Young adults and families are leaving because they cannot make the math work. A report from Align Durango notes that the average rent for a two-bedroom apartment now assumes an income near $90,000 a year, while median household income sits closer to $72,000. That gap makes the city unaffordable for the people who actually run it. Higher rates have also scared off many wealthy cash buyers who once swooped in to rescue the market. What remains is an uneasy standoff, with sellers unwilling to move and buyers unable or unwilling to pay. It's a disaster that looks quiet from the outside because it's not a wave of foreclosures yet. It's a market that is simply stopped. Which do you think is worse, an outright panic or a slow-motion freeze like this one? Tell us in the comments.
Number 8. Silverthorne. Now we turn north and follow the interstate corridor into Silverthorne. Even if you think you have never heard the name, you have probably driven past its outlet mall on the way to Keystone. For years, this was sold as the more attainable option in a region of sky-high prices. Today, that promise is colliding with a harsh reality. All around town, half-finished condo projects and new developments sit exposed to the weather. Silverthorne has become ground zero for an extreme oversupply problem. The core issue is simple. There are far too many units. Developers supercharged by ultra-cheap money during the pandemic built as if demand would never end. The Summit County Association of Realtors reports that the number of new construction homes on the market in and around Silverthorne has jumped roughly 145% compared with last year. Builders are struggling to find buyers. Zillow data shows the typical listing now lingers for around 128 days, about 3 times longer than just 2 years ago. Buyers are firmly in control and they know it. Redfin data backs this up, showing that more than 45% of active listings have taken major price cuts, often in chunks of $50,000 or more. Then came another blow. The town council tightened rules on short-term rentals, yanking the rug out from under heavily leveraged investors. AirDNA analytics show that future bookings in non-exempt zones have been sliced roughly in half. The investment income many owners counted on simply is not there anymore. The Colorado Department of Labor indicates that local median income can support a mortgage around $400,000, yet the median home price still hovers near $900,000. Local workers cannot afford to buy, and investors no longer see a path to profit. The outcome is a community inching toward ghost town status. Recent United States Census estimates show population here has declined for the first time in about 20 years. The ones left holding the risk are developers and recent buyers staring at negative equity and few exit options. Silverthorne is now a textbook case of what happens when overbuilding, collapsing demand, and rushed policy all collide. As we roll out of town, ask yourself whether this is a Silverthorne problem or a warning sign for the entire mountain housing market.
Number 7. Crested Butte. We leave the interstate and take a long, winding road to one of the most remote and iconic communities in Colorado, Crested Butte. This place does not just look like a postcard, it is the image people picture when they think of a classic mountain town. Historic, tightly protected, almost impossibly beautiful. It is also deep in denial. The downturn here is harder to see at first glance, but in many ways it is more severe. This is an ultra-luxury market that has seized up almost completely. For years, Crested Butte sold itself as the anti-resort, the authentic alternative to Vail. Ironically, that authenticity attracted extremely wealthy buyers. Prices climbed until the median home sat well above $2 million. Now those homes are sitting month after month. Data from the Crested Butte and Gunnison Association of Realtors shows total sales volume down about 60% and transactions over $3 million down around 80%. The high-end buyer pool has almost vanished. Listing sites show the damage. The average days on market has exploded to around 210 days, meaning many owners wait 7 months or more.
Redfin data indicates close to half of all active listings have already taken at least one price cut. Beneath that is a deeper warning. The town has been locked in a bitter fight over short-term rentals, including a 2-year pause on many new permits that froze part of the market. Insurance costs are also spiraling. Because of the remote location and wildfire risk, premiums have soared. One broker described a $4 million home hit with a $70,000 annual insurance quote, almost $6,000 per month just for coverage. This entire market was fueled by the belief there would always be a richer buyer, the greater fool theory. Now the line of next buyers is gone. Billionaires can sit tight, but anyone who must sell faces major losses. Crested Butte proves that even the most carefully curated version of authenticity is still a brand. And right now that brand is toxic to anyone who needs liquidity. We head back toward the main corridor, where the numbers get even darker.
Number 6. Steamboat Springs. Our next stop takes us far to the north into Steamboat Springs. This is Ski Town, USA, a place that has always tried to balance a rugged ranching heritage with world-class slopes. This is not a resort built from nothing. It is a real town with a high school football team, working ranches, and a long tradition. In the last 5 years, though, Steamboat leaned hard into the luxury property wave. Now it is living with the consequences. The collapse here is the story of a local economy that stopped working for ordinary people. Between 2019 and 2023, the median home price doubled. According to the Yampa Valley Economic Council, wages rose only about 8%. That mismatch triggered a quiet exodus. The Steamboat Springs School District reported an enrollment drop of roughly 10% in the last year. Classrooms are thinning out. At UC Health Yampa Valley Medical Center, leaders warn of a staffing crisis because they cannot recruit nurses and support staff who can afford to live nearby. This is what it looks like when a community prices out its own workforce. The housing market is finally catching up. The Steamboat Springs Board of Realtors notes that sales volume for single-family homes is down about 40%. The condo market is in even worse shape. Steamboat is packed with older 1980s buildings that carry high fees. A new short-term rental tax, among the steepest in the country, has made many units financially unattractive. Condo inventory has jumped more than 120%. A local appraisal study found prices down about 25% from the peak. Units that traded for $900,000 2 years ago now struggle to get offers at $650,000. This is a split-level disaster. At the top, multi-million-dollar ranch homes and luxury properties sit without offers. At the lower end, supposedly more affordable condos are locked in a race downward as owners slash prices to escape rising costs and taxes. The entire middle of the market, where teachers and firefighters once bought, has vanished because the middle class itself is disappearing. Steamboat Springs is no longer just Ski Town, USA. It is a warning about what happens when a town decides property values matter more than people.
Number 5. Breckenridge. You knew this one was coming. We head back into Summit County to the king of destination resorts, Breckenridge. Once a humble mining town, it transformed into a polished tourism machine with a main street full of boutiques and slopes that attract more than 3 million visitors a year. For a long time, owning here felt like a guaranteed win. Now the town is standing on the edge of a serious financial cliff. Breckenridge is living through a crisis of its own making. It became too expensive, too crowded, and too regulated. And the wave that once lifted everything is now crashing back. The trouble starts with policy. In a push to respond to worker housing shortages, the town council passed one of the strictest short-term rental ordinances in the Rockies. The Summit County Association of Realtors said plainly that this move instantly erased about 30% of values in some segments. AirDNA data confirms the hit. Revenues for short-term rental operators in newly restricted neighborhoods are down roughly 70%. That collapse has triggered a wave of forced selling from investors who built their entire math on steady nightly income. The problem is there are not enough buyers on the other side. Zillow data shows active inventory in Breckenridge is up about 90% compared with a year ago. These are not placeholder listings. They are real empty homes, many fully furnished and waiting.
A report from Land Title Guarantee Company shows total closed sales have fallen for 6 consecutive quarters. That is not a blip. It looks like the start of a sustained downturn. The commercial picture is just as bleak. The Breckenridge Main Street Business Group reports around 45 vacant storefronts on or near the main strip, the highest count in town history. Tourists still arrive, but many stay fewer nights and spend less, choosing day trips over long stays. On paper, the median home price remains above $1.5 million. In reality, that figure is increasingly imaginary. Zillow records show the average sale-to-list ratio has dropped to about 92%, meaning the typical home sells for around 8% below its already reduced asking price. Breckenridge is starting to resemble a theme park in winter and a near ghost town in the shoulder seasons, and the housing market is mirroring that instability. From here, we head into the true luxury tier, where the numbers become even more surreal.
Number 4. Telluride. To reach our next stop, you have to really commit. We are deep in a box canyon in southwestern Colorado, in a place so dramatic it feels like a movie set. This is Telluride, an insulated and exclusive community where billionaires dress down as if they are regular ski bums. For years, this town felt sheltered from normal market forces. That illusion is ending. The collapse here is not about mid-range condos. It is about ultra-luxury buyers disappearing. The Telluride Association of Realtors released figures that should scare every owner. Sales above $5 million are down roughly 85%. The steady flow of California tech money and Texas oil fortunes that once fueled bidding wars has slowed to a trickle. What remains looks less like a living town and more like a private club no one knew is joining. The average days on market is creeping toward 300, nearly a full year to close even on pristine properties. Inventory in the $5 to $10 million range has jumped around 150%. Daily living costs have also gone off the charts. A report from the town economic office, Visit Telluride, notes that a simple gallon of milk can cost around $12. The town is running out of service workers. Employees are bussed in from towns up to 2 hours away because they cannot live anywhere near the valley. United States Census data shows the median age has climbed by about 6 years in the last decade, turning this into a town of aging part-time residents. Another threat hangs over everything. Major insurers, worried about wildfire and disaster risk in this narrow canyon, are pulling back. Companies such as State Farm and Allstate have placed limits on new policies. If you cannot insure a home, you usually cannot finance it. Entire categories of houses become cash-only toys. Telluride looks polished, like a museum of high-end homes, but many of those exhibits are starting to panic. Anyone who bought in the last few years near the peak is likely underwater. As we turn east, remember that the final 3 towns on this list define the modern Colorado dream more than any others, and all of them are in serious trouble.
Number 3. Dillon. You have probably driven past this town without really seeing it. Then you look across the water and realize that shoreline of lights is an entire community. This is Dillon, wrapped around Lake Dillon, wedged between interstate traffic and some of the most expensive ski terrain in America. For years, it played background character to big names like Breckenridge and Keystone. Now it is being pulled into the same crisis with a twist that is uniquely its own. Dillon is what happens when a town becomes a loading zone for the entire resort corridor and finally runs out of room. For a long time, Dillon was the overflow valve. When slopeside prices in Keystone and Breckenridge went insane, buyers shifted a few miles down the road, snapping up condos with lake views and quick freeway access. Investors came next, converting older motels and modest units into short-term rentals, packing every spare bedroom with tourists. Then local leaders pushed back. New caps on vacation rental licenses tightened the screws on owners who assumed nightly bookings would always cover their costs. Now those units must work as long-term housing or be dumped into a thinner market. At the same time, basic living costs have surged. Resort wages have not kept pace, while association fees and utilities climb every season. Many year-round residents are being squeezed out.
Service workers who once found Dillon to be the affordable choice now drive in from farther away, fighting traffic over the same stretch of interstate they once considered an advantage. Online listings show the pressure clearly, with more homes for sale, longer days on market, and a rising number of price cuts on dated condos that need major upgrades to feel livable. What you end up with is a strange mix. On one side, aging buildings bought at peak prices by investors now facing restrictions and higher insurance bills that erase returns. On the other, working families and seasonal employees who can no longer find anything in reach. The result is a town that looks full from the highway and along the marina, but feels thinner and more fragile once you step off the main strip. Dillon has become the quiet middle piece of a much larger problem. If the housing system that feeds Summit County really starts to fail, it will not just be the famous resorts in trouble. Smaller towns like this, the places that keep the whole machine running, will be the first to show the cracks.
Number 2. Vail. Now we reach the legend, Vail. Even if you have never stepped on a ski slope, you know this name. For half a century, buying in Vail was considered one of the safest property bets on earth. The town was designed from scratch to be a perfect alpine resort, a controlled environment where the snow, the shops, and the housing market all seem to follow their own rules. That illusion is fading fast. Vail is in a decline of its own making, driven by aging buildings, enormous ongoing costs, and a new generation of wealthy buyers who see better options elsewhere. Look at what it costs just to hold a place here. Local data shows the average monthly association fee for a condo in Vail Village is now more than $2,000. That is $24,000 a year before mortgage payments, taxes, or club dues. The Vail Board of Realtors notes that total sales in the village core have fallen by roughly 70% from peak levels. Buyers are canceling or never showing up at all. There is a generational shift underneath it. Younger millionaires and billionaires can spend $5 million on a place in Jackson Hole, Big Sky, or new Utah resorts that offer modern design, newer infrastructure, and lower carrying costs. Local appraisers point out that the typical condo in Vail Village was built in the early 1980s. Many units need full gut renovations that can easily reach $500,000. Add that to an already huge purchase price, and the math fails. Redfin data indicates that median time on market has stretched to around 180 days, nearly 6 months. The local multiple listing service shows average price cuts near 12%. On a $5 million condo, that is about $600,000 slashed just to secure a buyer. The town government is feeling the strain too. Budget documents show a sales tax shortfall in the tens of millions as visitor spending softens. United States Census numbers reveal a slowly shrinking population as more units turn into rarely used second or third homes. Vail is facing not only a real estate downturn, but an identity crisis. A place that once defined mountain luxury is now being treated by the market as an aging product. Hard as it is to believe, there is still one town where the collapse is even more dramatic and even more symbolic.
Number 1. Aspen. We finish our journey in a valley with a name that echoes around the world, Aspen. This is not just another ski town, it is a global brand. For decades, Aspen has been the place where billionaires tried to disappear from the spotlight, where celebrities and executives mingled in private clubs far from cameras. It represents the top fraction of the top 1%. That is exactly why what is happening here matters so much. Aspen is now the single most extreme housing market disaster in Colorado. For years, people repeated the same line. Prices in Aspen do not go down. Now that slogan is a joke. The pandemic created a bubble so intense, it detached from any local reality. The hangover is shaking the wider luxury market. According to the Aspen Glenwood multiple listing service, the median sale price for a single-family home has fallen by about 32% from its peak. A property once valued at $40 million may now sell closer to $28 million. Billions in paper wealth have vanished. The damage is not just in prices. Total transaction counts are down around 65%. The buyers who once lined up for anything with an Aspen address are gone. Some remote work executives have been called back to headquarters. Others simply moved on to different elite playgrounds.
The old Aspen premium, the idea that you pay any price simply to own here, is no longer guaranteed. Meanwhile, inventory has surged. The number of active listings is up more than 200%, a market saturated with sellers all trying to exit before the next leg down. Zillow data shows average days on market now sit around 275 days. That is not a fluid market. That is a showroom of unsold mansions. The most shocking figures come from the Pitkin County assessor and local business records. With sales slowing so sharply, the commercial tax base is eroding. High-end boutiques, galleries, and luxury retailers report sales drops near 50%. Many of these businesses depend on a constant stream of ultra-wealthy visitors. When those visitors pull back, downtown feels hollow. Census data adds another layer. More than 60% of all homes in Aspen sit vacant for over 10 months each year. Aspen has become a part-time city. This is the great wealth story in reverse. Instead of money pouring in and lifting everything, capital is quietly leaving. Aspen was built on the belief that demand here was limitless. That illusion has cracked. The fall is so severe precisely because the pricing became so extreme. Aspen now stands as the clearest example of a mountain real estate market that lost touch with reality.
Our road trip comes to an end. From investor panic in Pagosa Springs to a sea of unsold new buildings in Silverthorne. From the disappearance of local life in Edwards to the implosion of billionaire fantasies in Aspen, the pattern repeats itself. The Colorado mountain dream, supercharged by cheap money and remote work during the pandemic years, has spun into a nightmare for buyers and owners who believed it could only go up. These housing markets are not gently adjusting. In many cases, they are in full free fall, and the numbers prove it. For anyone thinking about buying into these markets, this is a serious warning. For those who purchased at the peak, it is a harsh new reality. The avalanche has already started, and no one knows exactly where the debris field will end. If you found this deep dive helpful, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to see what is happening behind the glossy brochures, and subscribe to Discover the Nation for more investigations into the real story behind America's housing markets. Let us know in the comments which town on this list surprised you the most and where you want us to go next. Thank you for watching, and stay careful out there.